All right, what's up, YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to get more boxing content. All right. Yesterday, I did a video talking about Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz rematch. All right, and in that video, I briefly spoke about it being a pay-per-view. All right, the fight is next Saturday, November 23rd, Fox Sports pay-per-view. Okay. Listen, the first fight was a great fight. All right, but I don't think this fight should really be a pay-per-view. You know, and I'm like I've been trying to boycott pay-per-view at this point. I'm trying to not really pay for it anymore because listen, we already pay for the streaming services on Showtime, on dazn, the ESPN Plus. And then on top of that, we're paying pay-per-view too for fights that are really usually not that great. It's not like a lot of these pay-per-view fights or some of them are not even that good to warrant a pay-per-view. These are fights that we could get on, regular television. And then, and that's the thing. When the PPC first came out, I was such a huge supporter for it because it was on network television. And we were getting great fights on TV. And a lot of people were saying back then, I don't know how they can sustain this because how are they going to pay these fighters the big bucks without having to lose money? You know, um, so we don't get as many great fights on network television. We don't get the best fights like we first were getting, but I think they were just trying to pull in fans by giving us these great fights. All right, but look, this video is not really all about that pay-per-view. I want it to be done. I want it to be over, but I made a little list, right? I made a little list. It's a very short list of fights that I'm willing to pay for. And when I say pay, I mean like the $80. Okay, I know in the UK they have pay-per-views all the time. They're a lot less expensive, but they have pay-per-views on a regular. All right. Uh, these fights here are fights that if they were to really happen, I wouldn't mind paying for them. Okay, these fights I want to see so bad that I'll say, you know what? I'll support it just because these are two fighters that I really want to see fight each other. Okay? And I expect all these fights to actually be pay-per-views if they are to happen. I'm actually being realistic with it. If these fights were to really happen, they would probably be pay-per-views. All right? Um, so there's a lot of fights that are not on this list that I definitely want to see. But I had to be realistic and be like, you know what, that's not going to be a pay-per-view fight though. We'll probably just get the fight, even though I want to see the fight. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, let's go down this little list I made. All right, made this little list on my phone yesterday. All right, so let's start off with the heavyweights, the obvious. Okay, um, I want to see Deontay Wilder against the winner of Joshua Ruiz in that rematch. Okay, I would pay the $80 to watch that fight. If I had to pick five, six fights, that's one of them. If I had to, I want to see him face the winner. Of that it was more Joshua because I always wanted to see that fight. Ruiz kind of came out of nowhere, but if Ruiz is able to beat Joshua for a second time in a row, I would love to see him fight Deontay Wilder. I don't think he could beat Wilder, but I would love to see the fight. And if we're gonna get a pay-per-view, if we're gonna keep having it, that's something I would pay for a lot, over a lot of other fights that I want to see. All right, so I still want to see Wilder against Joshua. I still want to see it. I don't know what's gonna happen in this rematch. It's definitely not as hot as it was before now that he lost. But if he is to come back and win the fight, I still want to see the fight. I still want to see it. All right. Second, Fury and Wilder 2, the rematch. fight that is going to be pay per view. The first one was pay per view, so the second one's definitely going to be a pay per view. But I want to see the rematch. It's just like, dude, the way that fight ended, I just want to see it again. Regardless of who you thought won or should have won or whatever, it's not even about that. I want to see the fight again. You know, I didn't care for it being a pay per view the first time around, but after watching it, I actually went to a bar and watched it. I didn't actually order it. Uh, yeah, man, I want to see it again. And being that the fight was so entertaining, it really wasn't the best fight. It was just really highly entertaining. I think Tyson Fury made it entertaining. But when Wilder, the 12th round alone made it a great fight. The 12th round alone, that knockdown and the drama behind that made it worth watching. Like, that was literally like the best round of the year, arguably, you know, of last year, because this is a new year now. All right, so I still want to see that fight, and if I had to pay, I would pay for that fight. If I had to pay for something. The number one fight, which I should have named first, I should have started this video with, is Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. I would pay the $80, and I would pay a hell of a lot more to watch that fight. I would pay to watch that. I wouldn't give a damn if they announced that fight. That is my number one, demanded fight that I want to see. I don't want to see any other fight more than that fight. Any other active fight. I mean, Terrence Crawford against Errol Spence Jr. I want to see that fight more than any other fight. I don't want to make excuses. I'm not like these dudes that just want to make excuses on why the fight is not happening and why it shouldn't happen. I don't want to talk about what Bud needs to do in order to get. No, I want to see that fight right now. I really want to see that fight, and I would put up money in order to watch the fight, just to watch it, because that fight should be going down. And these are two, like, high pound for pound fighters. They should be fighting each other. These are the elite welterweights. Even though Bud hasn't been there as long, he's still one of the best fighters in the sport. And if anybody's going to beat Errol Spence, I think it's him. I think he has a better shot at beating Errol Spence than everybody else at welterweight. My opinion. All right? But I would definitely pay the 80, and I would pay a lot more, probably. Not a lot more. It's not get crazy now, but, I would pay. I would pay. All right. Another fight. Quick list, man. Quick list. Pacquiao. Pacquiao against Spence or Crawford. I would pay to pay for you to watch that. I had fun watching Thurman versus Pacquiao. So even though I don't believe Pacquiao right now can beat Spence or Bud, I think he would give him a hell of a fight. I think if he would, I think prime Pacquiao would probably beat both. Prime welterweight Pacquiao. Let me say that. All right, because prime Pacquiao is like 8 divisions. All right, so this guy been in a lot of divisions, but I say prime welterweight Pacquiao would beat both, but not today. I would pick those two over him, but I would pay to watch it. Hell yeah, prime Pacquiao. Even though I don't believe Thurman was at his absolute prime when he fought Thurman, I think he was pretty close to it, and I respect him enough for even beating Thurman. Beating a 30-year-old Thurman was very impressive to me, and I like it. And I would love to see Pacquiao still, like this year, if he like this year coming up, or like in the next fight or two, if he were to fight Spence or Terrence Crawford, I would love to watch it. He could have already fought Terrence Crawford while he was with Top Rank, but he didn't. Okay, so I would pay. I would pay the $80. I'll do it. I think that's a fair pay per view. Again, I will keep saying this. I don't want pay per view to exist, but I would pay for these fights if they were to go down. I can't stop it alone. I could boycott whatever the hell I want. They're gonna still happen. You know. Um, and I'll say the last one. I squeezed this one into the list. I would say Vasily Lomachenko against Mikey Garcia. I still want to see that fight. You know, I mean, listen, I want to see Lomachenko fight all these other guys, these younger guys like Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez and Tank Davis. Yeah, I want to see all those fights, but those are not pay-per-view fights. Those guys are not proven yet. They're not really proven yet. Haney, Lopez, even even though they had a common opponent, Tank Davis, he fought Pedraza and then went and started beating up a bunch of 126 pounders. You know, that's not pay per view. You don't go straight up to pay per view like that quickly. Not to me. All right. I mean, even though Broner, for example, I don't think he should have been in pay per view with Pacquiao, but I understand what that was. Like pay per view, pay per view came off of his name alone and Pacquiao. So I get that, but nah, man. Nah. I want to see Mikey Garcia and Lomachenko. If Mikey says, you know what, I'm gonna go back to 135. Let's say he has a tune up, goes back down to 135. Has his tune up, and then say, you know what, we're gonna do Mikey and Loma at 135 only. Okay, uh, I would say, all right, let's get it on. Because I already wanted to see that fight. When Loma first went up in that weight and Mikey was holding two titles, I was like, all right, let's get this fight going. I really wanted to see it, but it definitely lost some steam. I don't know what Mikey's doing. I think he's sitting around trying to hope he gets picked for Pacquiao, and that's it. It doesn't seem like he really wants to fight any of the other top welterweights. So I really lost interest. I really lost interest, man. Um, and at 140 too. At 140, I would love to see him fight Regis Prograis or Josh Taylor. You know, um, I would love those fights too, but I don't know what Mikey's doing. But if he were to be serious and go back down to 135, where I think he belongs, okay, I think he belongs there. If he goes back down and it's a crowded division now, guys moved up there, um, that would be awesome. And if he were to fight Lomachenko because he's more proven, this is not who I think is better between him and Tank and all these other guys. No, Mikey is by far the most proven out of those other fighters at 135 right now. So I would take him to fight Lomachenko. And you know what? Even though I don't really want that to be a pay per view, neither, I would pay for that. I would pay for that. You know, if they announce that fight and Mikey looks good at 135. He's ready. And Loma's already been fighting at 135. He has 3 titles there now, franchise champion. I would pay. All right, I'll pay the $80. All right, so listen, that's just my list. That's my opinion. Uh, you guys are free to add more fights to that list in the comments or take some off. What fights didn't you like that I named, and what fights would you add? If a fight had to be a pay-per-view fight, what are some of the fights you would want to pay for in boxing? So you guys let me know in the comments. Make sure you guys subscribe again, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.